I think SNCC was different because it came out of it came out of pure protest. You know, when those guys in North Carolina sit in at that lunch counter and they sparked the kind of thing that really young people were wanting to do anyway. I mean, it hit the real mark of really what young people wanted to do. And you had young people sitting in all over the place. I think the big difference was is when Ella Baker pulled these student leaders together and insisted on that this student group didn't become a part of LCLC, NAACP, and they had to make their own decisions in terms of what they wanted to do, that to have their own organizations. And then and had young people making their decisions. I think that was the key thing. And we didn't have to go through no older people who had set ideas in terms of how they were going to do things. You had people in SNCC who wanted to get into some action. They wanted to do something and make a difference. And you didn't have anybody to tell you couldn't do it. You know, you didn't have to go through all of these different entities in order to do what you felt like you needed to do. And I think that's what made the difference, because it was a freewheeling organization made up of young people. Decisions came from young people. And I think that was really what made the difference.
All right, and you may have answered this slightly, but you can, if you have another one. What's your strongest memory about being in SNCC?
Oh, wow. Maybe Atlanta. I'll tell you something about Atlanta. We were in Atlanta in '64, July the 4th, 1964. And you had a rally, they call it a Patriots Day rally, I think it was, where all the top races in the South were in Atlanta at a park. So we decided, we were sitting there talking about that. Now, how are we going to let this happen? They had everybody had fear was over Atlanta because all these people were going to be there. And we were sitting in the office and we said, well, what are we going to do? And so what happened was it was a discussion, and I felt it was a public meeting, you know, in a public park. So why can't we go? So myself and about 6 or 7 people, Matthew Jones, I think, and went with us a guy named his brother, Marshall, and some more people went to this rally. And it was interesting because it was so many people there that they had folding chairs around the back of this kind of built-in stadium because it was just groups of people. I mean, it was just a crowd of people there. So I went in and I got a rebel flag. I was going to be like everybody else. I got a rebel flag and got a rebel hat and put it on, and we proceeded to walk into this rally. And when I got past the cheers. But a lady got up and started hollering, niggers, niggers, kill them niggers, kill them niggers. And I know we were in for it, so they grabbed chairs and they started beating us with chairs. Now, the people in the back got away. You know, they hadn't really gotten in there yet. They got away. But Matthew Jones, myself, and Wilson Brown, we were stuck in there. And they started beating us with those chairs. But I didn't feel impact. I didn't feel pain. It was just impact. But I was trying to protect my head because I've been trained that you don't go down in a crowd. You don't get down. They stomp you to death. I mean, you don't go down. And one of the guys, Wilson Brown, he panicked. And he grabbed me by the arm. So I had to let him have my arm. You know, you don't wrestle with him. Give him your arm. And that's when I got hit on the head and some blood got in my eye. And finally, he turned me loose. And he ran and he grabbed a policeman around the waist, just grabbed him. And they almost beat that policeman to death. They just beat him, just beat the policeman. And so my next objective was to get down to the fence, you know, the end of the stadium. And I finally made my way down there, and when I got down, there was a drop-off and then a fence. And I took me a chair, but all I could do with the chair is ward off those blows that those guys was trying to beat me with. My next objective was to get to the corner. So when I got to the corner, you had Julian Bond and some more people from SNCC staff there and a lot of reporters, and I was trying to tell them we had some more people back there. And they told me, you better get your ass out of here. You get out of here now. And that's when I got out. But the interesting thing is when we were going to the Grady Hospital, the sheriff, the cop was in there, and I was looking at him and saw how beat up he was, and it was really fun. It was ironic. We were all going to the hospital together. It was Matthew Jones, myself, and this cop. And I remember when we got to the hospital, I must have blanked out, but it could have been a second or so. But I heard this nurse was saying that the niggas came down from Auburn Avenue. That's where they had a lot of joints. They'd been fighting down on Auburn Avenue. And I figured that if she found out where I really was at, I'd have never made it out of the hospital. So I'm getting out of the hospital. I'm getting out of there. And they was telling me, you got to stay. No, I'm getting out of here. And by that time, Foreman and some more people came and got us out of there. And that was kind of a memorable kind of thing, you know. And I'm wondering now, my children ask me, would you do it again? I say, I really don't know, you know, but it happened.
Okay, now, real quick, were there any members that were also freedom riders
And
in SNCC? Were any SNCC members also freedom riders?
oh yeah, quite a few SNCC people were freedom riders. I think the first group of people came out of Washington, D.C., CORE. And we had people from SNCC on that first freedom ride. I know John Lewis. John Lewis was one person was on there. But when they burned the bus and people got beat up and they burned the bus, and I don't know how it got that far from Washington, D.C. to Anniston, Alabama. If you just look at your map, it had to come through Virginia's and parts of Tennessee and so forth. How it got that far, I don't know. But it did get that far, and that's when they burnt the bus. I mean, it was really a lot of violence. And I think after that, SNCC people out of Nashville, with John and some more people, the Nashville movement said, hey, you know, you said you was going to do it. We got to do it. So Bobby Kennedy and a lot of more people advising against it. You had the NAACP, those older organizations, and SCLC advising against it. But SNCC people, you know, just insisted that it had to happen. And so they're the ones who spearheaded the second Freedom Ride. And they rode all the way down into Parchment Prison. But SNCC was involved, yes.
Okay. Then, two more, we're almost done. More than 4 decades have passed since your participation with SNCC. How did it change you?
It changed me.
Cell phones off. Thank you.
It changed my life.